Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Apostle Nikki, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about how your kingdom marriage promise will die before God will actually resurrect it, right? And throughout this whole series where we've been talking about marriage the kingdom way, we have looked at Genesis chapter 2 and Genesis chapter 3, right? So please be sure to read the story of Adam and Eve, because this is the foundation upon which the revelation that God has given me comes from, right? So now, when we get to Genesis chapter 3, this is where we come across the fall of man, right? This is where we see the enemy come into the garden. And in the previous video, I just talked about the four ways, right, in which the enemy comes to attack after God reveals to you who your God ordained spouse is, right? Now, after that happens, when the enemy has come to attack, right, what will subsequently happen is death, right? This marriage promise will die, right? And a lot of people actually get so heartbroken, begin to blame God, begin to ask questions, begin to say, God, what happened? I thought you said this, but now look at what has happened, right? Meanwhile, you promised me this, now it's dead. So God, where are you? But meanwhile, they lack the understanding of what really transpired, right? So this promise will die. It will die because remember, the enemy is going to come, right? He's going to come and cause temptation, right? He's going to come and cause doubt. He's going to come and cause the blame game, right? Where you guys begin to blame each other for this, or your kingdom, your God ordained spouse or your kingdom spouse is just blaming you for things that are really not true, right? It's just the enemy planting those thoughts in their mind, right? So it will get to a place where the enemy may even sell a whole case to your God ordained spouse about you, right? And even convince them that you're really not who God said you are, that you're not their kingdom wife, right? He may convince them to doubt God, to say, did God really say? Did God really say? Right? We in the previous video, we when we were talking about the four ways the enemy attacks, he attacks through the first way he attacks is through causing that doubt. Did God really say? Right? So the enemy may come and sell a case so good to your God ordained spouse that they begin to say that God did not say that you are their God ordained spouse, or they begin to doubt that you are their God ordained spouse, and as a result they may say, I don't want this because God didn't say, right? They may tell you that God hasn't spoken to them, or they may deny that God spoke to them, or I don't know, whatever the enemy does, but just to cause that doubt in their head on whether or not you are the person for them, right? And so they may decide to opt out of this promise and just tell you, like, I don't want this anymore. Just break your heart, and you will cry when this happens, but don't worry about it, right? It's not the end. It's really not the end. And then the second reason, all right, why this promise or how the enemy kills this promise, right, is by through temptation, right? He may bring in somebody who is an imposter, like I said, to your God ordained spouse, like somebody who looks like the real thing, but they're really not the real thing, or may bring an imposter your way, and you may decide like, oh, this is a divine replacement, and you just decide this is it, this is what God has sent me, so let me just forget about that person, right? And this is just really temptation, the enemy just tempting you to look elsewhere, just as long as your eyes are away from what God has for you, right? So this is where you also may just get heartbroken just seeing the man or the woman that God promised you with another person, and you're like, why? Like, God, did you not say? Why is this happening, right? And you may even cry and just say, God, you're not being fair, right? You will cry, actually, if that were to happen to you, or if that happens to you, right? Most likely it will happen to you once God has revealed to you who your God ordained spouse is, right? And so when you see this, you will cry. You'll be like, God, you promised, God, you said this. But again, when you see them with the counterfeit, just know that it's just a matter of time. God will use what the enemy meant for evil for your good. God will use whoever person they choose, just to reveal that I didn't choose her or I didn't choose him, right? God will begin to even use that to show your God-ordained spouse that they are really not compatible. They are not their missing rib, right? They are not compatible with where God is taking them. And you are the only person that is compatible with where God is taking the both of you. So don't worry when that happens. God knows how to flip the table. God knows how to help you. Okay. So yeah, just know that it's just for a season, or they will come back. God will restore the promise, right? And then the third way that the enemy causes this death to happen is the blame game, right? You may have your God-ordained spouse just blaming you for things you don't know, right? Like just finding so many things wrong with you. And when this happens, it's not them. Remember, the enemy has just made sure that he sees you wrong, or maybe has cast a rejection spell on you, right? So that whatever you do, the enemy and your God-ordained spouse just sees you wrong, right? So they begin to blame you for this, blame you for that, just find 100 reasons or a million reasons why they can't be with you, right? And when this happens also, they may just say, I don't want this. They opt out of the promise, and then you cry, right? But it's fine. And then the last way the enemy can do this is by using people, right, in your circle, Judas in your circle, that you don't see, to cast a witchcraft spell, right? And when this witchcraft spell is working, your God-ordained spouse will say, I don't want this. Why? Because there's a spell that has been cast on this promise, right? Or the enemy may use people close to you that you really listen to, you heed to, and they don't know any better, right? So they're interpreting the whole journey according to their own understanding, but they really don't have understanding because they have not gone through this whole kingdom marriage stance, right? So, and in the end, you may the death may come because you listened, or they listened to ill advice from people that are close to them, right? Or they listened or they listened to people that advised them wrongly, right? Or that or because of this spell that I talked about, that some people that are close will cast because they don't want to see this marriage promise coming to pass. But don't worry, when any of this happens, when this promise dies, remember when Eve and Adam were in the garden, they went through this as well, right? They went through that temptation. They went through the doubting. Did God really say? They went through the blame game. They blamed each other. Adam was like, is this not the woman that you gave me? Forgetting that he was the one who woke up from sleep, and he was like, this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, right? Now when when they were in trouble, he was like, God, the woman you gave me, the woman you gave me. So the enemy may also bring the blame game, right? In order to kill this promise, right? And so when that happens, just know that there is gonna come a season that the Lord is going to deal with everything, whatever the enemy. If it is the doubt, God is gonna clear the doubt. God is going to make sure that His voice is loud to your God-ordained spouse. They will know beyond reasonable doubt that you are the one that God has chosen for them, right? And if it is a matter of blaming you, God will begin to just remove those things that the enemy has cast on you, trying to get your enemy to see you differently out of their eyes, so that they may see you for who you really are, right? To see the real you, not who the enemy has convinced them to say that you are, right? Or if there's a temptation, if there's a counterfeit, the Lord will require your God-ordained spouse to let go of that counterfeit when the time comes for this marriage promise to come together, right? So it's just for a season. Don't worry when you see them off with other people and look like they're enjoying life, look like they're living their best life. God will make sure to highlight that this is not my choice for you. This person is not compatible with where I'm taking you. The one you rejected, the one you said you don't want, is the one that I have chosen for you. And your whatever I've promised you cannot come to pass if they are not in the picture. God knows knows how to restore this promise. So when it dies, regardless of if it's a witchcraft spell, God is going to break it as you partner with him in prayer and fasting and prayer and fasting. God is going to break that witchcraft spell that was cast on your marriage promise. And if it is people around you that you've been listening to, the Lord will begin to highlight, like, stop listening to people. You literally hear God say, even though they're your close friends, you love them, stop listening, because they don't know. They just lack knowledge, right? They can only tell you what they see, but interpret it according to knowledge. And if the knowledge is not there, they're going to tell you their own personal convictions, which is not what God is saying. So God knows how to bring this to pass. God knows how to resurrect his promise. So if death happens, when death happens, because death will definitely come in some way in this part of the stance, or this kingdom marriage stance, death will come. When that happens, know that Adam and Eve also experienced the death between them and God, right? Their communion with God died, and they were sent out of the garden, right? Which is another video for another day, which talks about divine separation, right? But they were sent out of the garden. But remember, God formulated a strategy on how of redemption, right? God came up with when the fall of man happened in the garden, God came up with a redemption plan by sending his son Jesus to die for our sins, that whosoever believes in him will have everlasting life, to once again be restored to the Garden of Eden. So God knows, he has a redemption strategy in mind. So don't you worry when you see death happening to your marriage promise. Just know that there's a season, and not too long, just as long as you partner with God, right? That you're going to see this marriage promise come back to life. So thank you very much for listening. I am Apostle Nikki. Like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell, and I will see you later. Good day. God bless you.